Welcome back to the Think Strong pod. I'm here with co-host Macca. We are back into it. Bread and butter episode with just the OGs.
Yeah.
But I feel like we're building some momentum and we're fully back into the swing of things in the new HQ. Exciting to be in a nice studio with some nice mics. We're no longer bootstrapping things.
Yeah, somewhat of an upgrade.
Yeah, we've got a lovely backdrop. We've got some arms so we can follow ourselves around the studio with whatever animated podcast delivery we want. But yeah, to kick things off, the topic to start with anyway, it's going to be coaches understanding the demands of the athletes or the people in general that they are coaching. Any thoughts on that before we get stuck in?
Yeah, I think this is one thing that we see a lot is people just ramming stuff down people's throats like continuously without any kind of thought process. I don't know what the word for it would be. We spoke previously on a pod about the experience of coaching in person and how it's valuable to do that before you go online. I think we live in a space now where everyone wants to be a coach in the fitness industry. One that springs to mind is, I came second in High Rocks. I'm going to be a coach now.
Yeah.
Like, fuck all about coaching. Behavioural habits. You can't even tell me like what the use of the glute is in the body, in the human body, and they want to tell someone how to improve their life. So yeah, I think it's having a basic understanding of just like general, like anything to begin with. It's not good enough to just to like fitness and want to be a coach, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. And social media, I think we said about this before on a pod too, but social media offers that kind of that easy access. Very similar to High Rocks actually, in that it's a low barrier to entry. It's an even lower barrier to potentially become a coach. So yeah, you kind of you can look at it from that angle.
I think if we do look back to like when you did your course and when I did mine, it's so shit, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's terrible.
If we could raise the certification standard to get in, because if you think about like your life as a coach so far, you do your qualification, you get it, you know nothing. Everything you learn is from that point onwards, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Through discovery or pushing your own boundaries as a human and as a coach. There's nothing within that course that teaches you about actually delivering a really good PT session. It just tells you sets, reps, how to talk to someone while they're walking on a treadmill. Yeah, just go a little bit faster, Debbie. Thank you.
How does that feel?
How does that feel? Do you know what I mean? There's nothing like teach you anything about how to relate to that person, build a relationship, teach that person why they're doing what they're doing, why it's going to help them in life in general, like all the life lessons through training and all that stuff. Why it's good to not kill yourself in the gym in a energy system way. Why aerobic training is probably best for general population. And then like the layers that go into it as you grow as a coach, like you specialize in coaching CrossFit athletes. These are the different energy systems you need. Like this is how you need to train to get to where you need to be. But people just come into if you're starting out, you're not gonna know straight away. But the biggest thing is like the negligent nature of people that are like, yeah, I can be a coach. You're gonna pay me this amount of money per month. And people that are not into fitness or just starting out don't know any better, so they'll pay it and therefore be left in a worse position after.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And I think it kind of happens at multiple levels as well, because you can be a decent coach with a good background knowledge, with some really good understanding of basic principles which do the job, and then things develop. You decide that you want to start marketing yourself to maybe a slightly different demographic, even if you're not actually coaching that demographic. And I don't know about you, but in my experience, the biggest demographic of coaches which are happy to call other people out or different training methodologies out haven't actually got the experience of that specific level of performance, maybe even sport, if it is people from like outside of CrossFit, in my experience, trying to poo-poo things almost. It becomes easy to rest on your laurels of one thing and think that applies to everything. And, you know, that one thing might work, but it's not the only thing that works. Yeah. And it's not necessarily an exposure thing to purely theory or purely note-taking and listening to hours and hours of lectures. It's also being in a position where you're willing to try different methodologies, work with different coaches, expose yourself to a much broader scale of things, and whatever it is, whether it's coaching or training yourself, to then have a wider arsenal of tools to be able to pull from. It's very easy to pigeonhole yourself because you think something works versus exploring other ideas which also work.
Yeah, I think like having a lot of people get torn into that like dogmatic approach to like, this is the way I do things, so that's how it is for every single individual. Strength and conditioning coaches are probably the worst at this. They do their S&C level 1, level 2, level 3, and then that's it. It's like when the horse is in the gates ready to go, and they just have blinkers on, and they're just like anything in front of them they see, they're just like aiming for that with like no deviation off the plan. It's ridiculous. When those S&C principles can carry across to so many different sports, if parts of it are taken and dosed correctly, but it's just so stupid to not look outside the box, isn't it?
Yeah, you need to be open enough to experience the demands or understand the demands of that sport, so you can then apply your principles, your knowledge, which we know does work. Yeah. But if you're trying to almost ram a square peg into a round hole, effectively, trying to apply knowledge that works into a situation which has slightly different demands, you're not going to make much ground. And I think that is potentially the reason why people fall short and think that they can maybe program for certain disciplines and perhaps don't actually have enough exposure to that to make something worthwhile. Yeah,
and I think, like you said, in the industry, the thing that's missing a lot is coaches asking other coaches questions.
Yeah.
Like so many times I'll just like reach out to someone about something they're doing and ask them like, why did you do that with that person? I've had like loads of different coaches that I've worked under myself as well. Just take the good parts from those people and see that's going to work with that individual or that's going to work with them. Like in CrossFit, for you probably find this strength protocol is probably going to work better for this person, or this person needs to focus on developing this energy system or capacity in that area, instead of just having like one CrossFit methodology and just like running with it and saying this is how we're going to do everything for every single person. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that's right. And you've got to be active in exposing yourself to those different things. And like we said before, it's not just listening to people lecture, taking notes on random things. Yes, that can help, but I still think you're going to get more exposure to things by doing things and by being a coach that's willing to be coached, willing to invest in a coach, because it does crack me up when I hear people that are coaches and have never had a coach in their life.
Yeah.
It's like, how the fuck do you expect someone to invest in you if you've never invested in yourself? So not only from a sports performance background or performance, not even sport necessarily, but also from like a delivery standpoint.
Yeah.
How do you know what you're doing is offering the best possible service?
I think that's what you mentioned in a previous pod as well. Is like, you can learn a lot about the way you deliver information from other coaches as well.
Absolutely.
You might see stuff and you think, that's terrible. I've got no idea what he's talking about. Or she's delivered that really well in that way. I might try that, which is good, and it just gives you more ways of connecting with different people. Do you know what I mean? Like some people, like every person learns in different ways as well, which is also another like caveat that you have to think about, isn't it? It's like, what does this person actually need from me? You could probably list like 5 clients you've got and all of the different kind of teaching models that you, or coaching model that you need to use, like with that person. Like I've had females in the past that just need to be fucking told what to do, and they'll do it. I've had other females that need a little bit of a softer approach and more in-depth information and stuff like that. Then I have guys that need an even softer approach for that, because they're just complete flannels. Yeah. But they just need that more. Do you know what I mean? And if I give them more, they're going to get to the result they need to. And then there's other blokes that just want to be also told what to do, and they'll just do it. But if you don't understand people, then it makes it very difficult.
Absolutely. No. And going back to what we were saying about kind of further education, how PT courses don't touch on any of that. That all comes from pretty much skin in the game, but not necessarily skin in the game from just PTing someone or just delivering a CrossFit class or something like that. It's from all angles. Basically, any exposure you can get to something where someone is being concise and being thoughtful with how they're delivering something is going to be another kind of string to the bow as to how you can potentially deliver something. But kind of going on from that, you're obviously working towards something which is kind of geared around coaches development a little bit at the moment. And so yeah, something I wanted to add kind of on what we were saying about the PT course being pretty bare bones when it comes to that. Even S&C degrees, I would say, can be bare bones when it comes to actual methodology sometimes as well. Mm-hmm. Although there might be a bit more of a proficient sports scientist where you can know how to apply tests maybe in a little bit more of a standardized way or something like that. We still meet a lot of people out here which might have done, degrees at really top end universities and still aren't applying things which they potentially should have learned or should know to real world situations, and are maybe not struggling but are not being the best coach that they could be as a result of lack of that kind of further development. I
think that practical application that you're talking about is like in your, say, I know we're battering S&C coaches here a little bit, but the classic one is like them doing like power drills or like jumping, but they're just like weak as piss. So I'm like, it doesn't matter. Like if you don't get strong first, then you have no power to use. Like, yeah, you might develop a little bit, but it's like, look at the bigger picture and what's like the lowest hanging fruit to develop. Do you know what I mean? It's like taking everything you've been given on your course and just like seeing the individual and being like, oh, I'm going to give that person that thing because it said it on my course. Whereas like you would look at the individual and be like, you are weak as piss. Let's get strong first, and then we can build into that phase of like developing power and being able to use it and become a better athlete there. And being able to like program effectively so you can help you can meet the individual where they're at and then take them on that pathway.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's kind of personified in social media a little bit as well, when we see strength and conditioning coaches, which they might have the qualification, they might not, who knows, but you see them doing like crazy drills which are like sport specific, trying to make movements up to look like the sport that they're training for, and it's just like
classic.
Yeah, it's just so obvious for someone that understands like general physical preparation that all they're trying to do is just get eyeballs on their on their training methodology and trying to get people to buy into it as a result of that, because it's more attention grabbing rather than 5x5 back squat, which is something which strength and those basic physical qualities are not fancy. Everyone, is probably quite used to seeing those things by now, but they provide the best results. And again, personified by things like functional patterns and all of these other things on social media, which are really gathering steam, both good and bad, feedback for them.
Yeah. It's also Instagram grabs. Yeah, I mean, it grabs the wrong people, because it's like, I mean, in the gym, you'll back me up on this. I've seen some horrendous things going on in there, but it's like, where have you seen that? It has to be on social media.
The first wall ball experience is one which is quite a good one. People are like, oh yeah, High Rocks wall balls. I'll do some of them, shall I?
Yeah.
Just the standing full leg and hip extension, but throwing the ball at the target is a personal favourite.
Yeah. It's like coordination is not part of their makeup yet, is it?
No.
But yeah, it's just like, people have obviously seen this stuff somewhere first, and then no questions asked, just go straight in the gym and do it. And it's like, that's where things bleed into people getting injured, things becoming unsafe. And it is so hard to unlearn a bad movement pattern, rather than having someone from the beginning and teaching them correctly all the way through. Like, you can have someone that's starting out training at, say, 23 years old, haven't done much training, and they will move great for the rest of their life if they're taught properly, rather than getting someone who's 23 and they've trained since they're 16, but they have such poor mechanics and movement. Maybe not any fault of their own, but just because they've been doing something that they've seen either online or they've been taught badly. Whereas like, they could have been taken through basic fundamental movement patterns first, then had a foundation to build on. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, to start with, yes, I agree. And but yeah, something we've spoken about before is the fact that it seems to be fitness and nutrition combined seem to be two of the things which people are so willing to take upon themselves to just like design their own protocol, because they think they know better, or I'm different to everyone else, so I'll do this. But I think maybe it's because it's intertwined with the psychology of, I do this every day, like one way or another I move my body every day, one way or another I put food in my mouth every day, so that gives people like a bit of a right to kind of disregard like a professional's opinion sometimes. And very often it can be to their own detriment, especially if you've not put in actual time and research to be able to control that sort of thing for yourself. But yeah, it's funny how you don't go and, like, what's a good analogy, you don't take control of a business's finances and tax report if you've never done that before.
Yeah.
If you don't have experience in that, you'd probably say to your boss, no, I don't have experience in that. But something that you don't have experience in doing properly, you're quite willing to take the reins and potentially affect your the way you move for a long period of time after that.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, unless it's called out, unless people are made aware of it, they will continue to do that.
Yeah. One thing that I've noticed is people are more willing than I thought to take on help with that stuff. Since living here, like you said, in people will just do things themselves, and especially in England, like if you went up to someone in a gym in England, they'd probably be like, "Fuck off, mate."
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas like here, people are a lot more willing to be like, oh, thanks, that's great, that's really helped me, and then they'll put that into practice, whether that's like a cultural social kind of thing, but yeah, just like going back into being able to apply stuff properly. One good example I could give you is when coaching weightlifting in a weightlifting environment, in a class that's like in the gym that I work at. there's every different level, like person that's never picked up a barbell before in their life to experience. Now, the way we learn weightlifting, or the way we develop our knowledge, is to a high level, right? Like me and you will watch videos, we'll look at other weightlifting coaches giving feedback, we'll, I don't know, watch people weightlifting just like on YouTube for hours on end. But if you take that knowledge that you have at the top level to a beginner and just go into whatever it might be, telling them complex words or what you want them to do, or giving them a drill that you've seen that you know at the top level, they have no idea what you're talking about or what you're doing. So it's like, how can you take this knowledge, condense it down, give it to the person in the most simplest way, and it can be effective for them. So say, for example, we use the Bergner strength method for weightlifting. We have down and finish, which is like middle of the lift, we're practicing speed. How are you going to tell a beginner that in the most simple terms? Jump. Like, everybody can understand jump to a certain degree.
You think so.
You think so.
We'd be surprised as well.
And then it's like, how can you take other things and make it as simple as possible? Do you know what I mean? Like, I coach a push-up. People don't know where to put their hands. They actually don't. It's like, where would you put your hands if you were going to push someone over? Probably here. That's going to be your most powerful position. You're going to have your elbows out here, would you, if you're going to push someone? And it's like, they're like, okay, yeah, that's a really simple thing I can learn and take with me every time I go to set up into a push-up. Or just very like simple cues. You almost need to know as much as you can and then dumb it down as much as you can so it's relatable and people can just take it. And that in turn makes you a better coach because you can cue somebody effectively.
Yeah, it's like making something as accessible as possible, making the higher level, more technical things as accessible as possible. And it's quite funny because I experience a similar thing when it comes to coaching people with gymnastics, which I do a lot of as well. My coaching is it is for CrossFit, but the two most technical things within CrossFit are very often Olympic weightlifting and learning the gymnastics movement. So that's kind of where we put a lot of our time and energy. And I've got athletes which are, would say, like intermediate, trying to get like bar muscle ups and things like that. And it's funny how people's perception of how a movement should look affects their ability to execute what you are saying, because then it comes back into like, they feel as though it should look in a certain way, and they start doing things to like try to move well within that kind of perception that they've got. Like, for example, to give an example, like a kipping hips to bar, like quite a valuable movement when it comes to learning the bar muscle up. And I've got a client that like makes everything look super pretty, but is like limiting their actual ability to generate the hip extension and generate the force needed from that hip extension to execute the movement. And it's like having to reel someone back on one thing that they think they're performing really, really well, and use some sort of analogy to break down what the actual outcome is you're looking for versus their previous perception of something is kind of another layer, which is potentially most common, probably, I would say, in like Olympic lifting. I'm sure you've noticed it before yourself when coaching the lift classes, where you've got people maybe like pulling under the bar super quick or stamping their feet like ridiculously in a ridiculously aggressive or exaggerated way, but they haven't like passed through their positions nicely. They haven't hit full extension, so they're actually like getting diminished returns from something. Do you find that as well?
Yeah, a lot. Mostly CrossFitters.
Yeah.
They like start in a nice position, and then the bar gets above the knee, just completely disregard what else is happening.
Yeah.
But I think that's just the nature of the sport when they're in an isolated setting of weightlifting. Do you know what I mean?
Unfortunately, yeah.
When you're in a time domain sport, like positional awareness is not always the first thing on your mind, is it?
No, that's right, because very often people, maybe even in that class environment, they might focus on an element of quality for a little while, and then they go into a Metcon where there's, say, for example, power cleans that they've just been working on in that element of quality, and it just all goes out the window because they're doing something out of, like, under fatigue and you know, moving in a completely crap way, sort of undoing all of that hard work you've just done to try and ingrain a new movement pattern.
Yeah.
Which is challenge within itself.
Yeah, it is challenging. But like within that, and like applying knowledge and stuff that if we just use that example as an isolated example, say if they're doing snatches in a CrossFit class for the strength part, and then they have in the conditioning part for that day they have, say, power snatches. For somebody that's really new, like taking the barbell out of their hand for the conditioning and giving them like a kettlebell swing, they're still finishing overhead with hip extension, is going to be far more valuable to that person over time. Because like you said, they might be moving well under no fatigue with the bar, with you there coaching them. You put them in a setting where they've got interference and they're just like learning really bad habits straight away. It's just like, can you give them something that's going to replace that hip extension load going overhead that they've got to control? Great. And then you just continue to build on them inside that strength piece, and then over time you might dose that effectively for them. I know you do loads of stuff where you learn the skill of either weightlifting or gymnastics in isolation to begin with, and then slowly start to bring in some kind of like global or local interference and build their capacity there.
Yeah, that's right. I think that's a really good example of like someone, like you said, a beginner who is going to get a better stimulus from that workout with something different, but then say they've been doing it for a year and they need to start moving with the barbell in a conditioning environment. How can you manipulate the workout? Obviously it might not be a case for you in a class because it might have to be the same for everyone, but if we're kind of moving towards like a more bespoke coaching model now with this example, it's like, how are you going to give someone exposure to the skill of being able to move well with a little bit of load under a little bit of fatigue, without pushing that fatigue, without pushing that interference too far up, so they end up getting nothing out of it, or so they end up performing the movement really badly. So essentially, again, reducing that or taking away from that neural pathway which we're trying to ingrain. So yeah, it's about being smart with giving an element of that, also giving an element of accessible intensity, as that is, also what drives progress at the end of the day as well. And that's when coaching and programming can become really fun off the back of that.
Yeah.
Understanding, okay, we've got this skill element, I've got this like endurance element, I've got an actual fitness element, and I'm trying to blend all of these qualities together to try and get an outcome.
Yeah.
Ideally streamlining the process as well, without drawing things out to make sessions 5 hours long a day, working on every single fitness component underneath the sun. I
think that's really important with just like how you started today, with like being able to apply that knowledge, because you might know how to program a workout, say whatever it is, like snatches, toes to bar, ski. The coach that doesn't know how to apply that to the individuals is going to give that workout to that person, and that's it. That's where their knowledge is. But it's like, how do you break that down into a, say, level 1, level 2, level 3, beginner, intermediate, RX, or whatever, or give that to someone. The same thing relating back to like the whole Hyrox thing, which is really, really out. It's really, really out of hand. But don't get me wrong, the sport is great because it's got way more people involved in sport, because the barrier to entry is really low in terms of the skill level. It's basic fundamental movement patterns paired with running. That is the bottom line of it. But most people don't have basic fundamental movement patterns unlocked. Do you know what I mean? It's like you're squatting, you're lunging, you're hinging when you're pulling the sled, pushing in a lungy kind of pattern when you're sled pushing, burpees, which most people can't do correctly or with any thought process when they're doing it, hinging when you're skiing, hinging again when you're rowing, all your pretty much fundamentals, and carrying as well. When you go and watch the event, most people can't squat properly. most people can't lunge properly, and most people just like here somewhere when they're carrying. So the biggest thing is like people that are delivering these high rocks sessions or programming or classes now, they're not thinking about developing the qualities needed to get better at fundamental movement patterns. That like people think fundamental movement patterns are basic because it always says basic in front of them, but it still takes a long time to ingrain a good movement pattern within that. Like people think doing an air squat is easy, but you line 10 people up in a row randomly in the gym and ask them to do an air squat, there might be one person that does it correctly. And I think that gets really missed, doesn't it? It's like, just because the movement is simple doesn't mean that the person's doing it correctly.
No, absolutely. And a lot of, like we know with high rocks programs and things that we've seen and the way things are marketed, it's just a case of dose of high rocks intensity, shut the fuck up, next, basically.
Yeah.
And the next step on from what you're talking about there with regards to movement quality is exposure to building endurance, building tolerance in, you know, these traits which we're going to see in high rocks. So it might be squat endurance, it might be compromised running, all of these different things which individually at some stage in your preparation are going to need to be addressed in a way that's accessible, which is in a way that's progressive, so that you can build on that week on week on week, so you can improve that quality and then eventually blend it together. So I guess what I'm talking about now is moving into more of like the programming being lacking from like developing a quality like endurance or something like that, because they miss that exposure. Assuming now someone has been through your process of moving with a lot better quality, now they've got the building blocks to be able to do something like this, where they get that accessible exposure to a quality which is going to bolster their race performance at the end of a big block, which again is something which is nearly always missed if you're just getting mixed modal stuff from the start.
Yeah, just like constant. I think the biggest thing is people just try and do the sport like constantly without developing anything to get better at it. It's the same in CrossFit with like gymnastics and whatever it is, weightlifting. They don't do no positional work in weightlifting, and they just do the traditional lift like every week and expect to get better at it. Or they don't do any of the basic fundamentals of gymnastics. They can't get into a hollow body position. They can't like hold an arch position for longer than 5 seconds without crumbling, but then they jump onto the bar and expect to perform well. It's like do that first, just take that step first. But that's where coaching's so important, to be like, no, you need to go back there, this is why, and be able to deliver that to the person. Even like if you take the wall ball in CrossFit and high rocks, you need to be able to squat properly. You need to be able to hold your arms above your head for at least 4 minutes, like concentric, eccentric contraction, and be able to actually lift your arm up there with pretty good like rib cage and pelvis position, so you're not like flaring up the whole time. Most people can't put their arms directly above their head or even in front of their shoulder a little bit. They can't squat all the way down to depth, and that's like the two main things you need to even be able to like start doing a wall ball. Do you know what I mean?
But then they'll still go and try and do 50 unbroken, because you can mong your way through the movement. No. But and people wonder why they just get the same time every time they do the race. Do you know what I mean? It's like the High Rocks program that I write now is about developing your qualities as an athlete, and then people come in individually to me when they have a race, so you can direct and specify the direction to said race or whatever. But it's written over like the year to develop as an athlete, rather than like just do high rocks like every single day. Do you know what I mean? And people are getting overuse injuries, burnout. They're coming to me and they're like, I'm like, can I see what you've been doing previously? And it's like 90 minutes of just
what looks like intensity all the way through. But then it's then not intensity because they're just moving so poorly for 90 minutes at what feels tough to them because their movement efficiency is so shit.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, the sport is so good, but it's also so bad at the same time because it's just becoming so muddy and cloudy with coaches.
No, absolutely. And I think you could probably say this as well, but with my experience of trying to implement too much intensity to start with versus how that feels once you've gone through a period where you've been prioritizing that low intensity volume accumulation, building the blocks for what's needed before you then go into that. It's a completely different feeling, and you come away from intensity feeling like that was intense, but I could handle it because I've been prepared in a way that I need to for that, versus, you know, that feeling of just pain cave and things like that, which, you know, we actually see on social media all the time. People posting about this. I was in the pain cave here, XYZ, like
fighting my demons. And
it's like or people pretending to be Vikings. That was a standout one from a recent High Rocks in the UK.
Yeah.
Fucking, do we even go into it? I don't know. But just before we move on, I was gonna say, on the topic of this, just before we move on, one of your preps for High Rocks, I think you were doing like a world champs or something in pairs.
Yeah.
How long did you spend on that air bike before you even got close to kind of High Rocks intensity? The air bike cycle was huge, wasn't it?
It was massive. Yeah. I think that's probably the best tool to regulate your running volume, with like being off feet, both like all your extremities moving at the same time. Everyone hates the air bike that's pussy, pretty much. But it is probably the greatest tool in the gym to use for a similar stimulus to running that's off feet. But yeah, we did. I don't even know how long the cycle was, but it was long.
Yeah, 16 weeks
building
plus,
capacity. Yeah.
No, I definitely agree on the air bike as well, and not just for running, just for general conditioning.
Yeah.
I think that just that base level of lactic that you generate from your normal cadence on an air bike is so good globally, but also I think the amount of quad you use, it's very like anterior biased, and that's something that you don't really get that exposure to, and you don't have an opportunity to do that in like a cyclical motion.
Yeah.
For example, thrusters, incredibly anterior biased, massive demand on the body. You could probably you could sit at a zone 3 pace for 20 minutes on an air bike, but you're not going to get that same exposure from doing even light thrusters because they've just got that higher tax on your body. That might be a bit of a contrasting example, but I think just the cyclical nature of something so anterior bias is really beneficial for both High Rocks and CrossFit, to be honest.
Yeah, I love the air bike just for a general warm up. Like jump on nasal only for like whatever it will be, 3 to 5 minutes. Get your whole body moving, rib cage twisting on top of your pelvis, legs moving at the same time. Something like so simple, but warm ups are getting a little bit lost in the way. There's so much fancy drills and like do this 7 sequence mobility drill to get ready for your. Like for me, I've been experimenting recently more with spending less time warming up. Because I think as you get older, you get lured into like, you need to spend more time warming up and stuff. But it can, by the end of my warm up, I'm like, fuck, I don't even want to train now because I've been spent so long on the floor rolling around. On whatever it is, I've been experimenting with air bike or another erg for 3 to 5 minutes, nasal only, get the body moving. Pick 3 movements, whatever it will be. The third movement will be the movement that I'm going to start with, but a different variation of that. And just get stuck straight in and feel like what's the main block that you need to open up in your body for that movement. As I say, it's like a back squat. You'll be on the air bike. I have pretty good ankle mobility, so I don't need to worry about that. Warm my knees up with like some heavy eccentric, like split stance squats, like a kickstand kind of thing. Warm both my knees up, and then I'll do some like counterbalance plate squats just to prime the movement, and then get stuck straight into have good front rack. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, people will just spend hours doing like shit they don't need to, and then they could put all of that effort they're doing into their like warm-up sets. But then that's obviously like how you learn over doing stuff through experience and stuff as well, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, if you wanted to, you could make a 45-minute mobility prep routine for every.
It's also asking that question to your clients. Like, how many times the coaches say, like, when you meet a client, how do you like warming up?
Yeah.
Probably never.
Yeah.
Do they? It's like, for weightlifting, I don't need like loads and loads of warm up, but I need it to be short, and I need to be doing something fast like jumping, and then get on the bar straight away and warm up with the barbell. Other people need a bit of a longer warm up. If you take Tawny, for example, that girl loves warming up.
Yeah. I should pull her back a little bit from warming up sometimes.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, she loves warming up, and she'll get stuck into all of her stuff, and that's not only getting her prepared physically but mentally for the session as well. Somebody who trains like for a longer time domain. But if your client just wants to be in and out of the gym and they spend half their time warming up, it's like you can better use that time. So for like me, I don't need loads of time. I just want to be in and in training.
Yeah, there's another angle to that as well, when it comes to, I think, getting into more like metcons and how you deal with intensity, and how to prep your body for that as well. And sometimes we can kind of copy paste a warm up to be too similar for different stimuli. Your warm up for your weightlifting session, which you might be focusing on a primer, a main block of work, and then maybe a bit more strength after that. It's going to be incredibly different to your warm up to if you're going in to do an online qualifier, where you need to be really cautious of how you're priming your body globally, like for the aerobic demands, making sure that your heart rate's been lifted to a good enough level, and you get some exposure to like the actual game day pace that you want to be working at as well, plus all of the joints which you're going to be using to like make sure that you're not running into any issues there. So yeah, it's interesting, and it's all
That's
about
good.
that.
I had a really interesting conversation with Toby Buckland, who was at the gym recently prepping for CrossFit Games, and he managed to nick a spot, didn't he, by winning the Renegade or Rebel?
I think the Rebel Renegade
Renegade
in
Games
Africa.
in Africa. Took number 1 spot and then went to the games. He was using like this breathing lung thing. I don't know if you remember seeing him use that in the gym, breathe bag. And I asked him like what was like why was he using it before a certain session? And like you were saying, like if you're going into like a Metcon piece or something that you're priming your body for, to alleviate the muscular fatigue and just prime his respiratory system, he would use the lung to prime like his respiratory system to be ready for the system that he's going to be using within that workout without accumulating muscular fatigue. So say like he's trying to get the same stimulus from his lungs by sitting on a bike, say a bike erg, his quads are accumulating like lactate or whatever it might be, trying to shift that as well, and he's becoming fatigued muscularly before he's even started his workout. So it's really interesting to see that he can take that and prime himself for the workout without that. I guess you could do other breathing drills yourself if you don't have a breathing lung with you knocking around.
Yeah, just to describe what it was as well, it's like almost like a hot water bottle.
Yeah.
Like, and he's breathing into it and trying to expand it.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe there was a certain amount of breath.
Yeah, I believe you use an app and you have to try and stay within a timer of seconds you breathe out for or in.
Yeah, with the intention to kind of increase your lung capacity.
Yeah. Which is quite interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting stuff, and it's good to get exposure to see people do things like that, because things that are happening at the top end of sports performance take a very long time to filter down if you don't have direct contact with them.
That's like just being curious as well. I was just like, Toby, what's going on there? what you're doing with that.
Yeah, and having the nads to speak to another coach or athlete in that instance, to actually ask, like you were saying before, ask and speaking to other coaches, and that's cool though. But to move on slightly, I wanted to bring up a podcast which I'd been listening to. Chris Williamson, Zach Thielander, and it was quite interesting. And the actual title of the podcast is "Everything is on the Other Side of Cringe," and I thought it was like a really good topic, and it made me think, what has been on the other side of cringe for us? Do you think, or for yourself? And then I'll say
on the other side of cringe. Starting out speaking to camera, I guess.
Yeah.
You just feel like a complete knobhead to begin with. But yeah, I just don't have any of that now. You just become accustomed to talking in front of people, I guess.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like there's a lot of people out here in Bali that are wanting to get into the online space with regards to coaching and things like that, and that can be the barrier that means that they never do. I've made a list of a few things here which I thought were on the other side of the cringe, and yes, talking on social media is absolutely one of them. Even talking to a big group of people when you first start coaching, might not even be when you first start coaching, because you might be PTing people for a long period of time, and then all of a sudden you're coaching classes with 100 odd people in them. It's
it's like, how do you change that? Like, it's like us two having a conversation here now, but then being sat in front of 150 people, capturing their attention. That's probably the last time I got nervous on the gym floor was when I took my first Saturday class at the gym. I think there was like 153 people in my first one. I was standing at the front and I was like, I'm a pretty confident person, but I was like, there's a lot of people in this room right now.
Yeah.
And then obviously the other more senior coaches had their eyes on me to deliver well in that session. So there was like added pressure, but good pressure.
What pressure?
Pressure is a privilege, they say, or it's just for tyres. But yeah, I mean, even doing that and not being not being myself, but not being my normal self. Do you know what I mean? Like, when you're in front of people, you're putting on a performance and you're capturing the audience in a hospitality space, instead of just being very like monotone and very English and direct and straight to the point with people. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
I think it's interesting how that brings different things out of you almost. When I've done it before, the thought of it has been so much worse than actually doing it, because once I do it, I just kind of embody what I would hope would be a good example of someone that speaks to a large group of people. So I become more concise, a bit more clear, and probably a bit more confident than what I am actually feeling. And afterwards, you like step away and think, oh, okay, that was actually a bit better. And it's almost like being willing to pretend or embody what you think is a good example of that, and then kind of backing yourself, backing your knowledge a little bit.
Definitely, I think your confidence grows very quickly once you're on the other side of cringe. Like, as we're saying, you like talking in front of people, cracking a joke, and seeing how that goes, and like, there's a lot of people that come into the gym that are very nervous, especially where we are here, because it can be quite an intimidating space. Loud music, lots of people, if you don't go to the gym all the time. So trying to get some icebreakers in there and seeing if that works, and that can be very cringe sometimes as well. Using different words that I wouldn't normally use to connect with people. Do you know what I mean? It's like trying to be a little bit more American. That's fucking cringe.
Saying team every
saying team every 5 words. It's interesting, but it does make you grow as a person and as a human, and you just connect with people better, I guess.
I kind of think it's intertwined with coaching, but maybe not so directly. But also, when you're learning new movements, being willing to be cringe in the gym there, being willing to fall off the fucking rings, or move like a bag of shit when it comes to weightlifting.
I got some videos of my first power clean at a turf games. It's hilarious.
Yeah,
caught the bar like on my chest and then just
strongman style.
Yeah,
put it on your.
I've actually got some. See if we can intertwine these with the pod maybe on the account, but some power cleans that I did at the gym when I came here on holiday like 3 years ago. It's like, compared to what I can do now, it's so funny, just the way I move.
Yeah. And again, that can be enough of a barrier for some people to never learn something more technical, because that period of being cringe and probably overestimating other people's opinions of yourself can sometimes be a bit of a roadblock, which is a shame, but it's so valuable to realise that it actually doesn't fucking matter. And that's something that you've probably had it before as well, that other coaches, when it comes to talking to the camera with social media and stuff, go, I don't know how you do that, and it's like, I was exactly the same, but I've done it and just didn't care about the consequences for a long enough period of time, so that now I legitimately don't care about speaking on social media. And it's funny because it rears its head in different situations, like later on down the line. I would say I'm pretty good at talking to the camera when it comes to short form content now, but when it comes to longer form stuff, if I'm trying to make a YouTube video, I'm fucking horrendous. I'm just saying every other word, and I can't articulate myself in the slightest. So yeah, it is funny to see it rear its head.
Even when I started coaching bigger groups in the gym, it was like everything was super fast. There was no breaks in between anything I was saying. It was like, right guys, we're going to do this, right, off you go. And now I can pause. I can like look at people in the eye when they're just like staring at me, do you know what I mean? And like, you can build connection with people better. You can pause in the right place. Learn that people need silence to learn sometimes, because they're maybe a visual learner and not just an audio learner. It's quite interesting. I put a poll up recently about how you learn, and it was like auditory, visually, or kinesthetic, so like doing the thing. And literally no one put like auditory, and I was just like, no one fucking listens.
You have to start coaching classes dressed as a mime act.
Yeah, it was just like visual and doing it yourself. It's so good. But I've actually found that really interesting, because a lot of people listen to podcasts now, don't they? And like nobody said like listen, and I was like, oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Maybe they were just thinking about like inside the gym, but yeah, you know how it is. Like everyone, how many reps? What are we doing?
Yeah, you get re-asked the question about 5 times before you actually start anything.
Just normal.
That's why you need to pause and slow down, to allow time at the end for everyone to re-ask. Well, ask you to repeat everything. Closing thoughts, and just to again preface this, that it is a comedy podcast as well as a fitness comedy podcast. No, Utopia in Britain, digital ID cards. Are you excited for it?
It's fucking ridiculous, isn't it?
In COVID-27, we're gonna get the fine come straight out of your bank account when you step outside your house after your second walk of the day.
I don't think we're going to be allowed back in the country.
Yeah.
Because how are we going to get our digital card?
Earmarked as spies against.
Can I use my passport and my national insurance card, please? If that's not enough ID already.
No, you like the meme in 2013 about X, Y, and Z. You're not allowed in the country. Right, we'll put brakes on it there, shall we?
Yeah. Starmer out.
Yeah. oh, maybe I won't say that. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for joining us. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Let us know what you think. We're fully in the swing of it now, and always open to hear feedback. Yeah. Unless it's criticism, then we won't listen to it.
Yeah, we'll see you on the other side of the cringe.
Yeah. Ciao.